African Americans during Jim Crow had very little freedoms. They had aspirations to pursue life interests and, equality and the American dream, but access was always limited based on Jim Crow. There were separate lives for black and white people. The lack of equal public facilities, separate water fountains, that's always, this sort of iconic symbol of segregation, to separate cemeteries and funeral parlors. It went from life to death, hospitals, everything was segregated. In New Orleans, even prostitution was segregated. It was
depending on which way you're talking. For black men, I'm sure there were limits, but not for white guys.
Based on this idea of racial superiority, of white supremacy. And it was maintained by fear and terror for the most part. And laws, but still fear and terror for the most part. When there wasn't contact, African Americans lived full, active lives, social lives, with love and community and pride. It's when those two societies interacted with each other that Jim Crow really kicked in, and that second-class citizenship became more apparent, particularly for young children growing up. When you read a lot of autobiographies by black people growing up in the South, there's always this moment of racial realization, and it's when this interaction's happening at a certain age, and this realization that life isn't as wonderful as they thought it was, that they were treated by other people in a very inferior way, and that this was the life they had to lead.
Yeah, I think that's what we're up against here, guys, for the most part. We got a lot of people who say, it's not as bad as it was, and when you think about it, it ain't. It ain't as bad as it was. Well, I'll tell you what, it ain't as good as it's supposed to be. If you can be treated so good, you think, and you don't even know you're being treated bad until you start interacting with the rest of the world, basically, and you start seeing things being different. Especially during Jim Crow, it was stark, out in your face differences. They weren't hiding nothing, but nowadays they're a little more subtle with it. But it's just as painful to watch, and it's just as effective as far as perpetuating racism. Look at all the things we have to deal with, like our own communities, the policing of them. Why do white people have to police us? Why can't black people have their own ideas and their own thoughts when it comes to policing their people? Because that wouldn't be acceptable, because it would mean to relinquish jurisdiction and control over a group. They don't get to do that in every other community. Go to a Middle Eastern community and check out the dynamics, the restaurants, the businesses, the people, the social atmosphere. We have never been allowed to enjoy that because we've never been left alone. All we need for reparations to get everything moving in the right direction is for a president to get up there and say, hands off. Start signing laws that make contact with white people and black people as limited as it sounds horrible, I know, but it's the only way we're going to get anywhere. We tried integrating. It doesn't work for us. It ain't going to work for us. And they don't want it to work for us. They just want to keep us in second place, third place, fifth place, any place but their place. And we got to get to the point where we're okay with that and concentrate on ourselves. And instead of being a dude out in the streets, you can be a police officer in your community. You can be a public safety officer. You can be a mediator. There got to be a lot of different type of employments that we would use. And dressing up like a soldier about to go off to war isn't it. You don't want to be greeted at your home by an armed police officer at any time. At any time. If the law has to come in, it should be kind. It should be compassionate. And you should readily open your door and allow them inside, knowing that they're not trying to plant information or harm you in any way, even legally. You should have the society and the community's interests at heart. People going there trying to always lock people up and put people in prison. You want to help them. You go to their house to help them. And that's why we need to police and interact and communicate with our own on a whole lot of other levels. On a whole lot of business, especially. And we need for the hands to come off. They need to relinquish their jurisdiction over us. That is a form of slavery, has been. They chose when the civil rights movement ended by murdering our leader and other leaders during that time who were pulling in positive directions. They snuffed it out. Snuffed it out. Why is the KKK still existing? There's still different factions all over the country. They never stamped that out because they ain't trying to. So with that, guys, we're going to like, comment, share, subscribe.